Ooh, I got several different things I want to share with you. I have an op-ed from General Flynn and a letter from Nancy Pelosi to the Postmaster General, and just several things. Trump saying something really weird about his enemies. So stick with me and I'll get to it in just a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I just want to give a shout out to this channel. This was one that was nominated as a Patriot that was kind of a smaller one by Deanne Ray or slash Susan Burns, whichever. And she said, I have a channel I would like to share with you. It's called WGON. The lady that brings us the news is Linda Kirby. She's an elderly lady, sort of, if that makes any sense. She really knows how to do deep dives, and she stays on top of things like you would not believe. At one time, a long time ago, she had thousands of viewers, but YouTube has given her such a hard time over the last couple of years or so that her viewership is almost nothing anymore. It's such a shame because she does a really great job of bringing us the news and usually knows things that we are not getting from the mainstream media. So I did check her out, and I'm going to include the link down below so you can follow her. There's a really odd thing going on with her channel right now, though, because it says she has 0 subscribers. Now, this is a site called Social Blade that used to be very useful to content creators. However, it's not so useful anymore now that YouTube has changed a lot of things and the information's not available to a program like this, a website like this. But what they used to do is they used to keep track of subscribers and everything, and you could compare different channels, so you could kind of see how you were doing compared to somebody who puts out similar content, and you could see how your channel lined up with theirs. Now, kind of ignore this grade over here because that's going to be affected by what I'm going to tell you. See, it says she has 0 subscribers. Now, I thought for sure when I went here first, I did this last night, and I thought for sure there was a number here of how many subscribers she had, but I don't see it now, and like I said, this says 0. Well, okay. And it says she's had 0 for a while. Here's what's really weird. By the way, if you go to this to look, these numbers here, not really very accurate. So just because it says somebody's making that much money doesn't mean they really are, especially if they're doing like politics and they're getting demonetized all the time. Well, look at this. It says she had lost 94 views off of a video. I'm not real sure how that happens, but yeah, it's really bizarre. And of course, now they've messed up with the subscribers. So because of the way YouTube's counting them, well, I'll show you in a minute when you see mine, but it just has zeros all the way down. And down here they have charts. Well, it appears, this appears to me that she's had 0 subscribers August 2018 here. This was all there, and then it went way down. She lost 858 subscribers in September of 2018, and then it just stayed at 0 subscribers. So I don't quite understand that. I really did think she had subscribers when I first went there. Now, she doesn't have a lot of views. As you can see, the views are kind of low here, much lower than they used to be, and you're going to see that in mine too when I show you in just a minute. So this is just kind of interesting to be able to watch. And again, the subscribers, because YouTube has adjusted things, and like for instance with mine, it says 51.6K right now, and it's going to be that until I get another 100 subscribers, which could be a few days. So, it's not as accurate here, and that's why when you look at the chart, you'll see jumps. I used to be an A-, by the way, before all the censorship came on. Yeah, if you'd have looked at mine, like at the beginning of 2019, I was an A-, and I was ranked up here. A lot less than 60,000th, but Yeah, I have been getting more subscribers. You'll see I lose a lot and then I gain some, but because it's kind of chunky looking because of how, like I said, YouTube does its subscribers now. And so if you go down here, you can kind of see it shows you daily, but again, it doesn't show you until you've got that extra 100. It's not going to show you really. So, you know, at least I've got those. But you can see what happened with mine, and it was, up here. If you looked at this part of it, it'd be really weird because I started out my channel really oddly. My 24th video took off and went really crazy. So I had a big spike at the beginning. But then, a little bit of lull, which is not so bad. But then it came up and all of a sudden, boom, with the views. So most of us that were our patriots, we had a similar thing happen. So boom. I mean, you do expect it to go up and down according to the time. I mean, this is December and January. Those are traditionally higher points, but as you can see, not for me. At least not so much here. It just, yeah, it was a little frustrating. But anyway, I wanted to show you that because I don't know what the deal is with her, but 0 subscribers. So I'm really interested if Deanne here wants to kind of clarify for me what the deal is, or Susan. If you could do that, I'd like to find out. And another one, I want to give you a shout out for this one too. Now, this one does say he has 695 subscribers. Now, he nominated himself, but that's okay. That's good. A small Patriot channel, under 1,000. I've made hundreds of videos. Check me out. So I think you should. Go check him out. And I wanted to remind you that when you subscribe, after you click the subscribe button, then you got to go over here and click this. If you click personalized, you may or may not see the notifications. You almost always have to put all, or you're not going to see when they post videos. So I highly recommend you doing that. Anyway, so it looks like he's got some good videos here. So check him out. And if you like him, subscribe. What I'm trying to do is get some more of these smaller channels out there so people can subscribe to them. Some of you may think, oh, it's just a numbers game, but it's really not, because their algorithm has to do with how many people are watching your videos and how many minutes they watch. So it does make a difference when you can watch videos from a smaller channel. It will help boost them in the algorithm, so then more people get a chance to see them. Well, kind of. We're in a censorship time right now, and it's just going to be bad until after the election. But I did want to point that out to you. And if you're on Twitter, it's a similar thing. I know people are, why are they always asking for followers? The reason is because the algorithm will allow you to be seen better. Okay, well, in a way, I'm going to caveat that because I'll talk about that in the next video. I had so many tabs open that I had to split this into 2 videos because it was just too long. Anyway, definitely, give them a look over. And if you can, subscribe, support them. It's great if we can support our smaller Patriot channels so we can grow bigger and get more truth out there. I wanted to play this for you, okay? I'm going to play part of this. You need to watch this whole thing. I'll put the link down below to this entire clip because he makes excellent points. But I wanted to show you what Fauci was saying. I think this was back in January. Here we go.
They've not only shut out the traffic out of Wuhan, planes, trucks, buses, ferries, rail, but they've done it to a number of the surrounding cities. So rather than say historically it doesn't do much good, which is true, I think it's important to wait and see that maybe the Chinese, because of the state of their society, that they're able to do that. I mean, as you well know, there's no chance in the world that we could do that to Chicago or to New York or to San Francisco.
As you well know there is no chance in the world that we could do that to Chicago or to New York or to San Francisco. That's what Fauci said.
Yeah, but now we look at where we're at, and we're there. Look how much we've changed in the last few months. And that's really what this whole thing is about with Tucker. It was a really good segment, so you definitely need to check that out. All right, now here's an op-ed from Pastor John MacArthur. And I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's the pastor of Grace Community Church. I believe Grace to You is their radio show or their podcast name. And, you know, he's pretty well known. It's a pretty decent sized church. So they've kind of been at the forefront of things. And, you know, this op-ed is Pastor John MacArthur is David, and California tyranny is a giant to be slain. And I think that's probably kind of very true about this. This is a very good little op-ed. There's not a lot to it, but essentially what happened, and we've seen this before, and I've talked about it in a previous video about religious rights. And here they were, they're a church in California, and they're being told you've got to suspend your worship services. So they did for a short period of time. And then, once we knew more about the whole virus and everything, they wanted to start going back to services, in-person services. Now, this is a pretty good sized church. I mean, it's not small at all. I don't know how many people they have. I'll look that up and put it in here. But, you know, it's a good sized church. And so what's the situation? Well, they've been threatened with legal action by the city of Los Angeles, including possible arrest and a daily fine of $1,000 targeting MacArthur himself. So, yeah, pretty steep there, $1,000 a day if they continue to have worship services, which just seems incredible that this is what they're doing. Well, they're now represented by the Thomas More Society, which is a good law firm that handles a lot of religious legal cases. Jenna Ellis here is one of the attorneys that'll be helping them, and she is private counsel to President Trump. So they are going to be making a stand about this, which I think is a very good thing. You know, they're trying to be biblical about it, but here's the deal. You know, you wanted to help people. You wanted to here it says, MacArthur explained that because we could not possibly have known the true severity of the virus, and because we care about people as our Lord did, we believe guarding public health against serious contagions is a rightful function of Christians as well as civil government. And that's why they did close for a short time. But now, you know, and here's a sermon if you want to listen to that on We Must Obey God Rather Than Men. It's 40-some minutes long, I think. But the state of California is using COVID-19 as a pretext to attempt to force churches to close indefinitely, the Thomas More Society news release declared. This illegitimate, overbroad, and unconstitutional order to indefinitely cease assembling and exercising their religion and sincerely held religious beliefs forced Grace Community Church to defy the order and continue exercising their rights, seeking shelter in the guaranteed religious freedom protections of the United States and California constitutions. This is perhaps the single most consequential First Amendment case of our lifetime. So I think it is very, very important. And I know a lot of people are saying, what's the big deal? You can have your church services online. No, it's not the same, folks. You need to be there in person. You need to be interacting with other Christians, not virtually, okay? It's just not the same. It's not at all. So I think this and, you know, the other churches, because the other video I did had to do with the churches in Chicago. This is happening in many of the larger cities, and we need to be aware of this. If you live in a smaller area, a rural area, it may not be that big a deal, and going to church may not be a problem, maybe if you just wear a mask or something like that. But this is a serious issue, especially happening in California. And it just seems to me like this is a type of persecution, and it does seem that they're trying to push the Christian population into a virtual religion, so that instead of meeting in person, people will become complacent and end up, well, I can just watch it online and that's the same thing. It doesn't matter if I actually go to church. Okay, church does not save you, but the Bible does tell you that you're not supposed to forsake the assembling of yourselves together. And I think the reason for that is because I don't know if you've ever done rock polishing or anything like that. You get this big tumbler and you put like sand or some kind of grit in there, and you put these stones in and they tumble around and around and around. And as they do that, the grit helps to take off the rough edges of those stones. Well, that's really what churches are for. Okay, they help take off some of the rough edges that we have when we interact with other Christians, because they can see in us things that may need to be tweaked, some spiritual things, and give us that spiritual guidance and just come together and worship together. There is a very important aspect of meeting together in person. And I encourage people to do it if at all possible. It's just so important. And unfortunately today, everybody seems to be so busy they don't have time to do that. And it's much easier to watch, recorded video. I just really encourage you, if you're at all possible to do that, I encourage you to go and, be with other Christians in person. It's an experience you just can't have otherwise. And it will help encourage you and strengthen your Christian life. Because, like I said, sometimes we've got rough edges and we need our brothers and sisters in Christ to help us wear those down. It's very important. So anyway, then I wanted to take you to President Trump's Twitter feed. I know some of you don't do Twitter, and I don't blame you, frankly, because it's getting to be a real battlefield. And it seriously is. This is the front line right here. And he pinned this. When you have a pinned tweet, it keeps it up here. It's always at the top, no matter what else is posted. So this one, and this is a series of things, really just a very good little ad. I'm not going to play it because they keep putting music in it, and I just don't want to get caught on those. But yeah, this is a good one. And Obama himself even said, I'm going to support you because when you succeed, so do we. Yeah, that's not what he's doing. It's not what he's done. He was lying through his teeth at that time. But anyway, that was a really good one. And then there's some other clips that are here. This is something that I never noticed before. Maybe they've had it and I just didn't notice. Sometimes that happens. But look, there's a little flag here. It says U.S. government account. I just thought that was weird. Is this new? I don't know. If you're on Twitter, let me know. This was really cool because you got all these people here and they're all cheering. And again, they put music on this, so I'm going to take the music off. But you can see all these people lined up here. This was in Ohio. And yeah, people out there waving their flags and cheering and everything. Oh, it's always so good to see that. So I'm sure President Trump really appreciates seeing that too. And if you were coming by here, boy, I'd be out there. That's for sure. Tired or not, I'd be out there. So you can see all their Trump flags and everything. This one I thought was interesting. These are all things that he retweeted here. And this one, see, it's got that U.S. House candidate, Georgia 5. Again, that's new. That's got to be new. I never noticed it before. Anyway, so in Chicago had a 139% increase in murders in July. 2020, they had 105 so far. And in 2019, in July, they only had 44. I mean, that's huge. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and every single NBA player are silent. They don't care about Black lives. They care about capitalizing on Black lives. Now, I got to ask you folks, why is it every time I come to President Trump's feed, they give me this who to follow, which is so annoying, by the way. And Justin Bieber is always there. Always, always, I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber. I don't follow Justin Bieber. I don't really even care what Justin Bieber's doing. Why does he keep appearing here? And so does Lady Gaga. Okay? Those two, for some bizarre reason, every time I come to President Trump's feed, they're there. Now, I would love to know if somebody can tell me why that is. Now, Biden I can understand. Okay? I can understand Biden, the presidential candidate for the DNC. Yeah. Husband to Dr. Biden. Oh, gosh. And she won't even admit it, you know. Oh, sorry. He's just really losing it. And some of the things I've seen have been crazy. But anyway, I can understand him. But those two, I just don't get. I would really like to know why they do that. Okay, so this Angela Stanton King, again, he retweeted her. And this is what she has to say. My name is Angela Stanton King. I'm a proud black woman who supports Donald Trump. I'm done with the Democrat Party lying to my community. I'm running for Congress to end the lies once and for all. So hopefully, you know, she'll do a good job there. I'd like to see more of that kind of person in, because she understands. She understands what's going on. And this was really good. Joe Biden's policies put China first and America last. Very true. Now, this one, in case you didn't hear, Joe Biden put his foot in his mouth one more time, yet again. And it was about the black community. Basically, he said that all blacks always do the same stuff. They're just the same people, you know. But the Hispanic community, oh, they're different. You know, they have different opinions on things. And it's like, so black people don't have different opinions? Oh, but then he said, with notable exceptions. So that's why this notable exception here. Yeah, Joe is just, really, I want to see him on stage doing a debate with POTUS. I want to see that so much. I would pay money to see it, to be honest. So anyway, there's that one. That's why President Trump retweeted on that. But and he started out, I believe he started out the phrase saying, "Are you a junkie?" And then went on and said that. And it's just so insulting to blacks. Well, yeah, everybody's ticked about it. This guy's ticked about it. And he goes like, I'm not voting for Biden. I'm going to vote for Trump. And he's got a whole thing here. So, yeah, then Trump was at this Whirlpool. He was talking about various things. And I will play a clip of that in just a second. But I want to go down here a little bit further. I know you hate it when I scroll. But I'm going to scroll. So just hang on here. Now, you've heard about the NRA, that the New York AG is trying to take him to court. It's quite bizarre. Anyway, then Tom Fitton put this, and he was about Judicial Watch uncovered the Clinton Foundation State Department pay-to-play scandal. I testified to Congress about it. The documents are online if the DOJ or the New York AG would like to review them. Well, it's the New York AG that's going after the NRA. But anyway, this was when he was talking about that, and he did testify, and I want to put this up here in case you want to watch it. It was called A Case Study on the Clinton Foundation. I did a video on this, okay, because Huber was supposed to be there. He didn't show. I think the reason he didn't show, at least what I've been able to glean, is probably because of grand jury stuff. I don't know that he could have spoken about the things he was investigating. So that, the Clinton Foundation thing is his baby. And I understand that people are saying, and there have been articles written saying he's not doing squat. But remember, all these things that are just now starting to come out, and we're starting to learn that Barr has tasked these different U.S. attorneys with different investigations. We just found out about one the other day when he was testifying. We just found out about that one. So, these are set up in a way so that they're not letting this information out. It's not being leaked. Because remember, Sessions went after a bunch of leakers, and he did a lot of work in that area. That was one thing that he was working on. So I do think that Huber is still working. I just think that the whole thing about the Clinton Foundation is much, much bigger than we all know. I think it's huge. And I think it's been like a rabbit hole where one thing leads to another, to another, to another, and you just keep going after it. It's just, yeah, it's massive. Well, during this particular hearing, these two guys testified, this Larry Doyle and John Moynihan. And these two guys are part of what they do for a living is they go and investigate different possible IRS frauds. And they don't work for the IRS, but if they find a company that has done some kind of IRS fraud, then they end up getting like a finder's fee for finding that. And that's how they make their living. Well, they did this with the Clinton Foundation, and they found massive problems. I mean, a lot of it, and that's what they testified about. So they have presented their information to the IRS and also to Huber, I believe they said. So it was very interesting testimony to listen to. And it was really revealing. I mean, just on those kinds of tax issues, the Clinton Foundation is very guilty. But we know they're guilty of other stuff. So why have they not taken this information and already done something about it? And that's what, back here, that's what Tom Fitton was really complaining about. Why haven't they done anything with it yet? Well, you know, you got to put it in perspective. If there are connections to human trafficking, then getting the Clinton Foundation on tax violations, that's not the primary goal. The primary goal is to dig into it and find the connections to any weapons trafficking, drug trafficking, or child trafficking. So those are the things they have to look into. And I really think it's much bigger than we know. Okay? Plus, there's the whole thing about uranium-1, and that's part of what Huber's looking into, too. He already kind of had a running start on that. He was well-versed in it, and because of where he's located in Utah, that is kind of a center of a lot of the stuff that happened. And also, he has a lot of access, I believe, to the NSA database that is in Utah as well. So I think that's probably why he's there. But he's just not the only one. There are many U.S. attorneys looking into different aspects of these things. And I think one of the reasons, this is my personal opinion on this, but I think the reason for that is because when it starts coming out, the Democrats could blame, they want to blame Barr for everything. They want to say that he's just, President Trump's little puppet and he does whatever President Trump tells him to. And we know that's not true. We know that Barr is going to do what's right, whether Trump thinks so or not. I mean, that's just who the man is. So he's going to do that. But if it's just him, then the Democrats can say, see, he's the one, he's the key piece, and, he's the one we have to impeach, which they're trying to do, And one of the ways to stop that from happening is to spread it all out. You see, if there are 5 different U.S. attorneys working on different investigations and they all come up with the same people being guilty, that is different than just one man saying, oh, well, I think they're guilty. No, if it's that many, and it's not just a U.S. attorney, you understand that. It's not just one person. It's several people. I mean, it's an office, the U.S. Attorney Office, that's doing that. So if you have these several different offices, I think what that's doing is it's going to keep, the Democrats from being able to say it was all Barr doing it. Because it wasn't. It's these other prosecutors as well. And they're all coming to the same conclusion. So I think that's really what's going on. Well, this was an interesting statement that President Trump said today when he was doing his speech at Whirlpool. And so he said, I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you see me for a while. It was really strange when he said that. Here's the whole thing, I believe. And down here is the actual clip, so listen to this.
Well, the rebate that I'm doing cuts out the middleman and it reduces costs, and the money goes back to the people purchasing the drugs. So I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you'll see me for a while. A lot of very, very rich enemies, but they are not happy with what I'm doing. But I figure we have one chance to do it, and no other president's going to do what I do. No other president would do a favored nations, a rebate, a buy from other nations at much less cost. Nobody.
Yeah, so there he is saying that. And he's talking about Big Pharma is who he's talking about here. Because they do have a lot of money out there. And it's supporting a lot of candidates. So could be very interesting. If they're being offended, are they going to be throwing their money the other direction? What's going to happen? So, I think we need to be aware of that. But I thought it was just very interesting that he said that. I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you see me for a while. And then they went on to discuss President Trump's schedule. And, somebody said, well, you shouldn't publicize that. I got news for you. It's public. Okay? Anyone can look at his schedule and can see the basic things of where he's going to be. Like he's going to go speak at Whirlpool, or he's going to fly here, or he's going to fly there. That's public knowledge. And, so we're not giving away any secrets. We're not putting him in danger. Believe me, the Secret Service have him well guarded. And, a lot of times when people say that he looks a little overweight, just remember, he's probably wearing a bulletproof vest under whatever he's wearing. Because I tend to think he's not out in the open without one on. Just in case. I just think so. Well, I thought this was kind of cool. Speaking of Barr, that time you're driving in Virginia and Attorney General Barr spots a group of people in front of a police precinct showing their support for the police. AG to FBI detail. Can we make a quick U-turn? I want to jump out and thank those people. And so you got to check this out. And I'm leaving the sound on this one. There's no music.
Sir, I used to work at
This is awesome.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work, sir.
Let me go get it. Let me get it.
You did wonderful on your testimony. It was spectacular, I thought.
We love you.
It was terrible.
The old.
He's been retired.
Can we take a picture, sir? Sure. Come on in, everybody. Let's take a picture.
They wanted to get a picture of him. Did you hear the one say you did awesome with your testimony? Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he enjoyed hearing that. But yeah, I guess he was just driving along. He decided, hey, look, there's people saying back the blue. Let's stop. I just think that is so cool. And he was, giving the elbow bump to a bunch of them. And, just really great. And of course, what do the little naysayers say down here? Yeah, they're saying, why isn't he wearing a mask? You're missing the whole point of it. No, they are so brainwashed. Anyway, this one I'll leave down below so you can check that out. Yeah, can you imagine? These poor FBI detail, Secret Service, whatever they have. It's like Trump has done this before. He would be driving up to one of his rallies and he'd have them stop because there'd be maybe some firefighters or policemen that were standing there helping to direct traffic, and he'd get out and start shaking their hands and everything. Oh, what a nightmare I'm sure that man is. But, it's cool. That's really what you have to do. Obama wouldn't do that. I was watching Ted Cruz. He has a podcast called The Verdict with Ted Cruz. And I was watching one of his recent episodes where he was talking about being on Air Force One with President Trump. And he said the difference was because he'd been on Air Force One with Obama. And he said with Obama, once they got into flight, he said Obama came back maybe once for a few minutes. And then he just basically said hi and turned around and went back to his office. And he said, not with Trump. No. Trump's like they're hanging out with them, talking to them, listening to what they have to say. Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge difference. And this is what the left doesn't get, that this is who he is and this is how he acts. He really genuinely, when he's talking to people, he cares about what they're saying to him. And he listens. And he's, will ask them questions a lot of times. So anyway, White House moves to delist Chinese companies from American stock exchanges. That's kind of huge, don't you think? I think so. They're tired of the Chinese not playing by the rules. And so that's, there was this Senate back in May passed a bill entitled the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act that called for Chinese companies to conform to American accounting standards or delist. The bill was passed in the wake of the Luckin coffee fraud, and it has been on the back burner since. So it would require Chinese companies to comply with American auditing rules. They're currently exempt or face being delisted, which would put $1.3 trillion of U.S. listed Chinese firms, including behemoths like Alibaba Group and Tencent, at risk of being pushed out of American markets. So that could be really huge. And of course, he says, which begs the question, why hasn't Pelosi brought the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act up for a vote already? Yeah, because she's got money there. That's why. Okay, and then I wanted to show you this one. Vote by mail chaos. Liberal groups sent thousands of illegal, incorrect, pre-filled absentee ballot request forms to voters. Now, don't think that means they were already voted. It just means the pre-filled part here is where their names and addresses were put in, and they were like not accurate sometimes. So, see, they just filled in those parts, but they weren't supposed to. And then I guess this address wasn't correct. But look at this, 80,000 pre-filled absentee ballot requests were sent to North Carolina voters this year, a violation of a 2019 state law prohibiting the practice. So they're not even abiding by their own laws. Anyway, this is a really good little article here, and I'll leave it down below for you, but that's the essence of it, that they just basically sent out things and then they did a retraction. And how much of a mess is that? I mean, really, you just gotta look at this stuff and say, who can read these kinds of articles and then say there's not going to be a problem with the presidential election? Really? I don't know, folks. As far as I'm concerned, if you are at all capable of doing it, go there and vote in person, because this is going to be a huge debacle of some kind. I'm scared about that. So anyway, I wanted to show you this because this kind of ties in. Pelosi Schumer sent urgent letter to Postmaster General demanding reversal of operational changes to United States Postal Service ahead of election. Okay, now you know that Trump put in a new guy, right? I hope you know that. His name is Louis DeJoy. And of course, like most people that Trump puts in, the first thing he started doing was streamlining the thing and making it so it would work better. And of course, that's not what Nancy and Chuck want. And so they had to send him a letter here. And they said, yesterday we met with you to discuss the urgent issues facing the Postal Service, including reports of a dramatic increase in delayed and undelivered mail, impacting mail delivery times and quality of service for Americans who rely on an agency enshrined in the Constitution. At this meeting, you confirmed that, contrary to certain prior denials and statements minimizing these changes, the Postal Service recently instituted operational changes shortly after you assumed the position of Postmaster General. Of course, that's why Trump put him in there, so he can make it work better, so it would succeed. These changes include reductions of overtime availability, restrictions on extra mail transportation trips, testing of new mail sorting and delivery policies at hundreds of post offices, and the reduction of the number and use of processing equipment at mail processing plants. We believe these changes, made during the middle of a once-in-a-century pandemic, now threaten the timely delivery of mail, including medicines for seniors, paychecks for workers, and absentee ballots for voters. That is essential to millions of Americans. While it is true that the Postal Service has and continues to face financial challenges, enacting these policies as cost-cutting or efficiency measures as the COVID-19 public health emergency continues is counterproductive and unacceptable. In this moment, Americans have turned to the Postal Service and depend on it for the timely delivery of critical goods and a safe alternative to in-person interactions. As a result, we believe these changes must be reversed. Can't have Trump having his guy in there making changes that actually might result in the post office doing its job correctly and getting mail to move faster and more efficiently, because if he does that, then all of their, those mail-in ballots that came in late, well, the post office couldn't get them in there in time. So they're going to claim that. They're going to do that because what they're trying to do is wait until all the Republican votes are in, and then they're going to just stuff the ballot box. That's what they'll do. During our meeting, you committed to being more forthcoming and transparent with Congress and the American people regarding these changes, including providing documentation of the operational changes you've made and will be making since beginning your term. That's oddly worded. And the Postal Service's plan to successfully deliver election mail during the 2020 elections. We call on you to fulfill these commitments and also to provide any analysis of the possible impact of operational changes on mail delivery you conducted prior to implementing them, including the impacts on speed of delivery and quality of service. Do you really think Chuck and Nancy care one iota about how fast the mail goes? Do you really think they do? I don't think they care one bit. Oh, and yet they are making a big deal out of it. So I do think that the reason they're making such a big deal is they need the post office to be quite inefficient to be able to substantiate their claim when all these ballots come in late. Because if the post office is running efficiently and things are moving fast, can't have that. No. That's going to mess everything up with their mail-in votes. So, anyway, that's my opinion on that. Who knows, but I think that's it. I also wanted to show you this, and I want to thank Sagittarian 1955 for this, because this is a video of a young man who was 16 years old who took someone's car and drove it and wrecked it. And then the lady wants him to pay to have it fixed, and he doesn't think he should have to because it's not his car. And guess what the gentleman's name is? Oh yeah, there he is. Huh. What a find. So I guess since before he was 16, because he says here in this that he had been arrested before, but he wasn't convicted when she asked him the question. And he just tried to slip it by that, well, I wasn't convicted. So it's like, okay. I'm thinking back to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. What fun is a witch? She turned me into a newt. And everybody turns and looks at him and he goes, well, I got better. So that's kind of what it made me feel like with this. I was like, really? Seriously, I mean, you gotta listen to this. I'll put the link down below so you can watch it, but, oh, wow. Yeah, a troubled boy who evidently never got his life together. Anyway, California spent millions on Sacramento Arena Hospital that saw 9 patients. Yeah, you gotta kind of wonder about these because They were told to prepare for 30 to 60 coronavirus patients to arrive within days, and so they worked really hard to get this put together, and one arrived in the first week. And pretty much it was one for the next few weeks. So that's it. They had 250 assembled medical workers, and they had nothing to do. So now, does it make sense they had all those TikTok videos where they were dancing and everything? Because they were bored stiff. Of course, nobody could do anything, with elective surgery. I asked my doctor that. I said, how many ventilators do they have? And he told me, and it wasn't very many. I think it was 8. And I said, but they're not, how many of them are they going to use typically? Oh, probably only 1, or maybe is in use at any given time. I said, well, why can't they have these surgeries, these elective surgeries? Because it's like a different part of the hospital than the ER. And why can't they go ahead and have those? If they need a ventilator, then you can say, well, I'm sorry, it's all full up in the ICU, so we don't have extra equipment or anything, so we can't do any more elective surgeries. People, could wait and have it canceled for that day. It'd be like, well, it happens. I think everybody could have been okay with that, but oh no, that's not what they did. Our hospital was pretty much not busy at all because nobody could go in for anything. So anyway, yeah, this one, ultimately 9 patients arrived over 10 weeks. And the cost to care for them was a staggering $12 million. There you go, folks. California's efficiency working again. So very interesting. You might want to read through this. It's kind of frustrating when you think about it that all this money was spent. It's kind of like in New York, the money was spent to send the ship there and the Javits Center and everything, but nobody showed up. It's just big waste of money. Well, the last thing I want to share with you is this op-ed by General Flynn. And for those of you who follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, I think when he does this, he's talking to us. So just be aware. Sometimes it may not make total sense to somebody who hasn't been involved with the 17th letter of the alphabet or following anything with that, but it makes real good sense to us. So he says, we are witnessing a vicious assault by enemies of all that is good, and our president is having to act in ways unprecedented in decades, maybe centuries. The biblical nature, well, you like this, he used biblical nature there. Biblical nature of good versus evil cannot be discounted as we examine what is happening on the streets of America. It's Marxism in the form of Antifa and the Black Lives Matter movement versus our very capable and very underappreciated law enforcement professionals, the vast majority of whom are fighting to provide us safe and secure homes, streets, and communities. When the destiny of the United States is at stake, and it is, the very future of our entire world is threatened. As Christians, shouldn't we act? We recognize that divine providence is the ultimate judge of our destiny. Achieving our destiny as a freedom-loving nation, providence compels us to do our part in our communities. It encourages us in this battle against the forces of evil to face our fears head on. No enemy on earth is stronger than the united forces of God-fearing, freedom-loving people. We can no longer pretend that these dark forces are going to go away by mere prayer alone. Prayer matters, but action is required. This action is needed at the local, state, and federal levels. Action is also required in the economic, media, clerical, and ecclesiastical realms. Decide how you can act within your abilities. Stand up and state your beliefs. Be proud of who you are and what you stand for. And face head-on those community leaders who are willing to allow dark forces to go beyond peaceful protests and destroy and violate your safety and security. Churches and houses of worship must return to normal. We invite everyone of goodwill to not shirk their responsibilities and instead act in a fraternal fashion. If for no other reason or with no other ability, act in a spirit of charity. We cannot disrespect or disregard natural law along with our own religious liberties and freedoms. I am witnessing elderly people lose their connection to all that is good in their lives, connections to their faith, their families, and their individual freedoms, especially the simple act of attending church, something they've been doing for decades. Let us not be intimidated or fear those who cry out that we are in the minority. We are not. Good is always more powerful and will prevail over evil. However, evil will succeed for a time when good people are divided from each other and their personal lives. Children away from their teachers, preachers away from their congregations, customers from their local businesses. America will never give in to evil. Americans work together to solve problems. We do not and should not ever allow anarchy and the evil forces behind it to operate on any street in our nation. No one should have to fear for their very life because some dark, disturbed force is challenged by the very essence of what America stands for. We are one nation under God, and it is our individual liberties that make us strong, not liberties given to our government. Our government has no liberty unless and until we, the people, say so. God bless America, and let's stand by everything that was and is good in our lives, in our communities, and in our country. Otherwise, America, as the true north for humanity, will cease to exist as we know it. Okay, so this is very important, and especially what he says about how we need to act within our abilities. We all have been given different gifts. Not everybody is a YouTuber, okay? And that's good. That's fine. But you all have friends, and you can talk to your friends. You can talk to the people across the street, the neighbors in the house next to yours. You can talk to people that you see at stores. You can talk to people that are at your work. You can talk to people about what's going on, because this isn't just another election. This is a very important one. We need to have this man back in the White House so that we can see justice done. And today I heard John Solomon was on Hannity's radio show this afternoon, and he was hedging a little bit about having some of the arrests happen before the election. But I really think that they do need to have that done, that Durham has to come out and make some arrests because, you know, it's time. It really is. And so I'm hoping in August sometime that that's going to be happening. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. I think it's really important. He talks about the elderly being disconnected, and I really have a place in my heart for that because I'm kind of in a situation like that. I have a lot of days where I never see another human being. I mean, I see my cats, and that's about it because I'm just too sick to go out. And, the chronic fatigue just kind of hits me hard, and I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be one of those days. But we really have to make sure that elderly people, especially in our lives, that we're making contact with them. If we can't actually go see them, can you send them cards or something so that they can know that people are thinking of them? Because it can get very lonely if you're not quarantined with other people, to say it that way. You know, it's hard. I posted a while back on Twitter, I posted a poll asking people which they thought was more difficult, being quarantined by yourself or being quarantined with loved ones. Pretty universally, the people said it would be harder to be quarantined by yourself. Even though, sometimes you get in fights and you get tired of seeing the same people over and over again, at least you're seeing some people. And that can be tough, especially if they can't get out to go to the grocery store. There might be little things like that they need. So if you can, check with some of the elderly people that you know, or people that may have health conditions that keep them inside because they're vulnerable. So just, check with them and make sure they're okay, because I do worry about people like that. For me, I kind of recharge myself being alone, so it's not so bad. But, a lot of people can't handle it. So make sure that you're checking with people if you know some elderly folk, especially those that maybe going to church was like the highlight of their week because they got to see people and they may not be able to do that otherwise. And now they can't do that. So just kind of keep an eye on people. And then as for you, do what you can. If you can work at the polls, then work at the polls. I mean, look into that. That might be something you could do. Or maybe you can just stuff envelopes. Or maybe you can, there might be something you can do. Put yard signs around or whatever the case is. Look into what you can do. What are your skills? What are your abilities? Use those abilities to get the truth out there about what's happening in our country. People need to hear it. So that's what I think General Flynn was trying to tell us in this. I think he was kind of giving us our marching orders. It's good to pray. It is excellent to pray. But we got to do more than just pray. We need to get out there and get some things done ourselves. And if you can run for office, do it. If you can help somebody who's running for office and get their name out there, do that. Whatever you can do, let's get it done, because this is a very, very important election and we can't let it slide. So that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.